Hello. Welcome to the Linux podcast episode something. I think it's 8. So I'm going to flip through some of the weekly newsletters pretty quickly. Fedora, SUSE, and Ubuntu. And just pick out some highlights, some stuff that I find interesting. So Fedora 12 got released recently. One of the big things was non-root users could actually install updates and new packages without putting in passwords. So there were a few criteria that had to be fulfilled before a non-root user could do that automatically. But the criteria was the user is logged in onto a local console, installing packages signed with a previously trusted key and using previously configured and trusted repository. There are a lot of people who raised hell about it, wondering why it was done and all that stuff. So Fedora made a change. They had an update, so now it will require local console users to enter the root password to install new software packages. You know, if you leave your machine lying, if you're logged in and somebody, steps up to it and starts installing crap, not the greatest thing. I can see kind of why it would definitely make people's lives easier if they did allow it, but it's security-wise, it can be a little icky. So also, Fedora 12, the RPM started using XZ compression instead of gzip. Packages are quite a bit smaller, and the Presto plugin is being used, which only downloads RPM deltas. So you're not downloading all the files in the packages and installing them. It's just whatever's been changed. So the download should be smaller, updating should be faster. Let's see what else. Oh, there's a cool new feature called kernel shared memory, KSM. So if you've got multiple copies of similar virtual environments running, KSM will actually go find memory pages that are identical between the guests, and it'll eliminate duplicates and point all the guests to a shared copy of the page. And it could save up to 80% of RAM usage. Pretty snazzy. Yeah. So somebody did a interesting comparison between the Fedora and openSUSE community, or community engagement between the two communities. So what they compared was bugs reported by unique reporters, bugs assigned to unique assignees between Novell and their community versus Red Hat and the Fedora community. So some of the numbers were bugs reported by community. For example, in the Fedora community for Fedora 12, 74% of the bugs were reported by the Fedora community. For SUSE, 69% by the community. Unique reporters, 86% of the community for Fedora, 82% for SUSE 11.2. Bugs assigned to, in Fedora 12, 72% were assigned to Red Hat versus 28% to the community. In SUSE, 98% were assigned to Novell, 2% to the community. And there's actually a breakdown. So what are the potential reasons for this? So possibly openSUSE project utilizes tools like OpenFate to steer development. openSUSE is a younger project than Fedora. Maybe that's why there are more Novell people versus Red Hat people working on the bugs. Novell folks do not reassign bugs to community members. The bugs stay assigned to insider who closes it. Interesting. Some of the assignees are in fact mailing lists that contain both internal and external people, but they belong to the novell.com domain. Okay. Fedora uses Bugzilla for package reviews. These often include external people, but are not actual bug reports. Interesting stuff. Would be interesting to see a comparison between Fedora, SUSE, and Ubuntu. Hopefully somebody does that in the future. So, openSUSE 11.2, which recently came out. Well, it's not so recently. It's been almost a month, I guess. So some of the cool things, there's something called WebYast. YAST is the system management tool in SUSE. And there has never been a web interface for it. And there is something now called WebYast, which is basically a web front end. So you can just open it up in your browser and install packages. It's still a technology preview kind of thing for 11.2, but it's pretty cool. KDE on SUSE. KDE has always rocked on SUSE. And yeah, SUSE just keeps rocking with it. That's pretty much, all there is to it. One thing they did change, Firefox is the default browser in KDE with SUSE. Conqueror is pretty well integrated into KDE, so what to do? Simple, add some integration features to Firefox to make it more part of the environment. Sweet. So it's got KDE, file dialogues, applications to open files, using KDE apps for IRC URLs. Very cool. Excellent. Good Firefox integration with KDE. GNOME. So upstream GNOME switched to Empathy. SUSE stuck with Pigeon for 11.2 because they felt that Pigeon is more capable than Empathy at this stage. Fair enough. Chowcock, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is the social networking tool installed with KDE. Gwibber is the popular one that's installed with GNOME. So, SUSE, awesome stuff. Ubuntu, let's see. Ubuntu 1, KDE tech previews. So Ubuntu 1 is so far the Dropbox-like utility. You can store files, I think you can share files and stuff like that, but eventually long-term the plan is to get it integrated with apps so they can use Ubuntu 1. So now there's a KDE, so you can use it on KDE or Kubuntu, but it's just a technology preview. So yeah, probably one of the biggest pieces of news has been that Google has been, Canonical has been working with Google to build Chrome OS. It's not like Ubuntu and Chrome OS will be really compatible with each other kind of thing, but especially since Ubuntu is kind of meant to be like a general desktop kind of thing, and Chrome OS is pretty much has a very specific use. Cool. Never gonna pronounce this right. I think it's Nuvo. It's the open source NVIDIA driver. It's going to go into Ubuntu 10.10.04 LTS, which is the long-term support release. And I think it's been used in Fedora for quite a while. The open source driver is just a reverse engineered version of NVIDIA's binary driver. Let's see, what else? GIMP is being dumped from the next release of Ubuntu. GIMP's pretty big. Most people probably don't need all the functionality in GIMP. So, it seems a little controversial, but it's in the repository, so any user can go and install it. So it's not really, even though it's controversial, it's not like people are gonna miss out a whole lot. They can always go install it. Lots of stuff on Ubuntu hate. Nah, who cares? So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I start out usually, the first weekly newsletter I cover, I go into it quite a bit and I use up most of my time. I will try to stop doing that. That's all I got for this episode. Hopefully, I keep saying every episode I'll keep trying to do these more often, but I will try to do these more often. All right, and be a little bit more timely. That's all I got. All right, see you later.